Hey, how many miles are you running today?
No miles because we're at the beautiful White House, but why don't I give you a tour?
Let's do it.
In a jaw-dropping live moment on Fox News, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stepped into the spotlight to give a tour of the White House, only to be blindsided and nearly destroyed by a question that left her scrambling.
Guys, we have to stop for a second and look at this. I can't believe you get to wake up and be here every single day. Is this a dream come true for you?
As her response unraveled, viewers watched in disbelief. Elon Musk wasn't left out. The controversial billionaire who has it in for female political figure didn't hold his brakes. So what sparked this viral clash? And why did it leave Musk and millions online reeling with laughter? Let's see. What really happened?
My name is Karoline Leavitt. I am from New Hampshire, and I am the White House Press Secretary, and this is the beautiful White House.
Hold on just a second. Before we plunge headfirst into this political whirlpool, we need to address something crucial that our investigative team discovered after hours of painstaking research. What we're actually examining is something far more nuanced, complex, and arguably even more fascinating than what the clickbait suggests. So why has this particular story gained such tremendous traction? To understand that, we need to examine the key players in this political drama and the volatile environment in which they operate. To understand how we got here, we need to meet the actual protagonists of this. First, there's Kate Max, a TikTok influencer, a TikTok fitness influencer who had built her empire on something beautifully simple: the joy of running. Her content wasn't political. It was pure motivation, sweat, and the pursuit of personal bests. Her followers came from every corner of the political spectrum, united by their shared passion for pushing past their perceived limits and embracing the therapeutic power of movement.
Guys, we have to stop for a second and look at this. I can't believe you get to wake up and be here every single day. Is this a dream come true for you?
Her videos showcased ordinary people achieving extraordinary things: the overweight office worker completing their first 5K, the busy parent finding time between diaper changes and work meetings to lace up their running shoes, the recovering addict using the runner's high to replace destructive habits. Kate Max had created a digital sanctuary, a place where political divisions melted away in the face of shared human struggle and triumph. Then comes Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, whose journey to the White House podium reads like political fan fiction come to life. Born in 1997 in Atkinson, New Hampshire, she had transformed from a small-town girl working at her family's ice cream stand to the most powerful voice in American government communications. At just 27 years old, she shattered the age barrier for White House press secretaries, her appointment a testament to Trump's preference for unwavering loyalty over traditional credentials. Kate Max, riding high from a successful interview with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, a conversation that perfectly aligned her fitness content with political accessibility, made a decision that would unknowingly trigger a political earthquake. She extended an interview invitation to Karoline Leavitt, seeing it as an opportunity to explore how someone in one of the world's most stressful jobs maintains their physical health and mental equilibrium.
Hey, how many miles are you running today?
No miles because we're at the beautiful White House, but why don't I give you a tour?
Let's do it.
The interview itself was innocuous. Questions about running routines, stress management through exercise, the challenge of finding time for fitness amidst 14-hour workdays, handling the world's most scrutinized press corps. These were the same questions she had asked Governor Walz, questions that had resonated with her audience's desire to see the human side of political figures. But in the hypercharged atmosphere of contemporary American politics, identical questions can trigger dramatically different reactions. Leavitt has appeared on Fox News multiple times, often defending administration policies or addressing controversies. One notable example includes her claim that President Trump deserved credit for quarterback Shedeur Sanders being drafted, as reported by The Independent. Such statements could invite criticism or ridicule, potentially setting the stage for a challenging interview. Then enters Hope Walz, the daughter of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, whose response would transform this simple fitness interview into a viral sensation and a cautionary tale about political polarization. Having grown up in the unforgiving glare of political scrutiny, Hope had developed what some might call a sixth sense for political narratives and their implications. When she discovered that Kate Max had interviewed Karoline Leavitt using the same platform, the same approach, and likely many of the same questions that had been used with her father, something fundamental shifted in her perception. Her reaction was swift, uncompromising, and absolutely public. She didn't simply disagree with the interview, she viewed it through the lens of moral absolutism. Hope Walz labels the interview a good versus evil situation. Hope Walz accuses Max of normalizing the Trump administration, suggesting that by humanizing Leavitt through conversations about running and health routines, Max was unwittingly legitimizing policies and positions that Hope considered fundamentally harmful to democratic values and human rights. Hope Walz argues that running is inherently political due to barriers like time, gear costs, and access to safe spaces. Walz asserts that running is a political act and faults Max for not reflecting this in her discussion with Leavitt. Meanwhile, Musk has become a prominent figure in political discourse. His role involves influencing government policy, and he frequently uses social media platforms like X to share his opinions, often with a humorous or critical tone. Karoline Leavitt, the youngest White House press secretary in American history at just 27 years old. Her meteoric rise through Republican politics has been nothing short of remarkable. Born in August 1997 in Atkinson, New Hampshire, Leavitt grew up in a family that ran a used truck dealership and an ice cream stand, humble beginnings for someone who would later become the official voice of the Trump administration. Her political journey began during her college years at St. Anselm College, where she stood out as a conservative voice on a predominantly liberal campus. She gained practical experience through internships, including one at Fox News, a connection that would prove valuable in her future career. After graduating in 2019, she quickly transitioned from intern to full-time staffer in the White House Office of Presidential Correspondence during Trump's first term. By June 2020, she had risen to associate director of that office and was soon appointed assistant White House press secretary under Kayleigh McEnany. This early White House experience was formative, giving her a front-row seat to the administration's media strategy and solidifying her loyalty to Trump. Following Trump's 2020 election loss, Leavitt joined Representative Elise Stefanik, a prominent Trump ally, as communications director, but her ambition led her further. In July 2021, she announced her candidacy for the U.S. House of Representatives in New Hampshire's 1st congressional district. Although she won the Republican primary, she ultimately lost to Democratic incumbent Chris Pappas in the general election. Undeterred, Leavitt joined Trump's super PAC, MAGA Inc., and later became the national press secretary for his 2024 presidential campaign. Her unwavering loyalty and communication skills caught Trump's attention, and after his 2024 victory, he named her White House press secretary, making history as the youngest person ever to hold this prestigious position. Trump praised her as smart, tough, and a highly effective communicator, highlighting her campaign performance and prior White House experience. Her appointment reflected his preference for loyal, energetic figures who could advance his agenda and counter mainstream media narratives. Since assuming this role, Leavitt has established herself as combative and unapologetic, a communication style that mirrors Trump's own approach. She's made numerous appearances on Fox News, defending administration policies with characteristic intensity, particularly on hot-button issues like immigration enforcement and economic policies toward China. Now let's turn our attention to Elon Musk, the controversial billionaire entrepreneur who has found himself deeply embedded in the political machinery of the Trump administration. As head of the Department of Government Efficiency, cleverly acronymed as DOGE, Musk has carved out an unprecedented role for himself in American governance. Established via executive order on January 20th, 2025, DOGE emerged from discussions between Trump and Musk, with the tech titan taking on a pivotal role as a special government employee. This unusual arrangement has raised eyebrows across the political spectrum, particularly given Musk's continued leadership of major private corporations including Tesla and SpaceX. Under Musk's direction, DOGE has pursued an ambitious agenda to eliminate inefficiencies, modernize technology, and cut what he deems wasteful federal programs. His team, composed of young software engineers and tech veterans from his companies, has accessed departments ranging from the Treasury to the Office of Personnel Management, implementing sweeping changes that have generated both praise for efficiency and criticism for overreach. Musk claims DOGE has saved taxpayers over $1 billion by canceling what he calls crazy DEI contracts tied to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. However, detailed evidence for these savings remains limited. His department has also facilitated significant layoffs and the dissolution of certain federal organizations, often without clear public justification. Beyond IT upgrades, Musk has influenced broader policy areas such as immigration crackdowns and reductions in foreign aid, prompting debates about DOGE's legal authority. His expansive approach has pushed beyond the department's original mandate, drawing both praise and alarm from various stakeholders. This unprecedented arrangement has not been without controversy. As CEO of Tesla and SpaceX companies with substantial government contracts, including SpaceX's reported $15.4 billion from NASA, Musk's dual role raises significant concerns about conflicts of interest. Critics argue his influence over federal spending could benefit his businesses, despite assurances that he recuses himself from related decisions. DOGE's operations have also been criticized for lack of transparency. The department's website initially offered little detail beyond promises of future receipts, and its reliance on X, formerly Twitter, for updates has been deemed insufficient by critics. Lawsuits from watchdog groups, including Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, have challenged DOGE's constitutionality, arguing it oversteps executive authority. In one notable case, a federal judge blocked DOGE from accessing Treasury records containing Social Security data, citing privacy privacy risks. These challenges highlight the tension between Musk's bold reform agenda and the need for accountability in government operations. Now, with our key players introduced, let's examine how Fox News fits into this complex political ecosystem. As a major conservative-leaning outlet, Fox News has served as a frequent platform for administration officials like Leavitt and has covered Musk's activities extensively, particularly his work with Doge and his relationship with President Trump. The network provides a sympathetic venue for administration figures to present their perspectives, though interviews are not without challenges. Leavitt has appeared on Fox News multiple times, often defending administration policies or addressing controversies. One notable example includes her claim that President Trump deserved credit for quarterback Shedeur Sanders being drafted, a statement that raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. Such appearances, while generally favorable to the administration, still contain moments where Leavitt faces difficult questions or situations that could be perceived as challenging. These moments, while not amounting to being destroyed, as the viral title suggests, do provide glimpses into the pressures and pitfalls of her high-profile role. The interplay between Musk, Leavitt, and Fox News occurs within a politically charged environment, marked by internal administration disputes and polarized media coverage. Understanding this context is essential to grasping what might have inspired the viral narrative about Musk laughing at Leavitt's expense on Fox. As we move into the next segment, we'll examine the most significant incident that likely contributed to this sensationalized story, a remarkable public feud between two high-ranking Trump administration officials that caught Leavitt in the crossfire and forced her into a delicate balancing act on national television. The feud that captivated America, Musk versus Navarro. Now, we turn our attention to what may be the most significant contributing factor to this narrative, an extraordinary public feud between two powerful figures in Trump's inner circle that forced White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt into an extremely difficult position on national television. The conflict that captivated Washington and beyond wasn't between Musk and Leavitt, but rather between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro, a senior trade advisor to President Trump. Their clash exposed deep ideological divisions within the administration and created a scenario where Leavitt found herself attempting to defuse a political bomb on live television, a challenging moment that could easily be mischaracterized as her being destroyed by difficult questioning. This remarkable feud stemmed from a fundamental disagreement over trade policy, specifically the Trump administration's approach to tariffs. Peter Navarro, a Harvard-educated economist with a PhD and longtime Trump loyalist, has been a staunch advocate for protectionist trade policies. He argues that tariffs are essential to protecting American manufacturing, reducing trade deficits, and reshoring production to bolster domestic industries in cities like Akron, Indianapolis, and Flint. Navarro's protectionist stance aligns with Trump's broader economic agenda, which he helped shape during both terms. He has been an architect of the administration's America First trade approach, positioning himself as a guardian of American industrial interests against what he sees as unfair foreign competition, particularly from China. In stark contrast, Elon Musk, despite his role in Trump's administration, has emerged as an unexpected critic of this protectionist approach. As CEO of Tesla, which relies on a global supply chain sourcing components from countries including Japan, China, and Taiwan, Musk has advocated for free trade and zero tariff zones, particularly between the United States and Europe. The technologist-turned-government efficiency czar argues that tariffs increase costs, hinder economic efficiency, and ultimately harm American competitiveness. This perspective puts him at odds with core elements of the Trump economic platform, creating an unusual situation where a high-ranking administration official publicly opposes a signature policy. The tension between these competing visions simmered beneath the surface until it dramatically erupted into public view during a pivotal moment that shocked political observers. The confrontation began when Peter Navarro appeared on CNBC for what should have been a routine interview about the administration's trade policies. Instead, he launched a thinly veiled attack on Musk, dismissing him as merely a car assembler rather than a true manufacturer. This seemingly calculated slight implied that Tesla's dependence on foreign parts undermined its status as an American company and, by extension, questioned Musk's credibility on trade issues. Navarro framed Musk's opposition to tariffs as self-serving, driven primarily by a desire for cheap foreign parts, and questioned his commitment to American manufacturing. The implication was clear. Navarro was positioning Musk as putting his business interests ahead of national economic priorities. For most administration officials, such a public critique from a colleague would warrant a measured private response through proper channels. But Elon Musk has never been one to follow conventional rules of engagement engagement. In a move that sent shockwaves through Washington, Musk took to X, the social media platform he owns, to fire back with unprecedented ferocity. He didn't just defend his position, he launched a personal assault on Navarro's intelligence and credibility, calling him a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks for all the world to see. But Musk was just getting started. He defended Tesla's manufacturing credentials, claiming it is the most vertically integrated auto manufacturer in America with the highest percentage of U.S. content, directly refuting Navarro's portrayal. He also mocked Navarro's credibility by referencing his past use of a fictional trade expert named Ron Vara, an anagram of Navarro's own name, which Navarro had cited in his writings to bolster his arguments. The spat quickly escalated to extraordinary levels of personal animosity. Musk took his attacks to new heights, dubbing Navarro Peter Retardo and sarcastically apologizing to bricks for comparing them to the Harvard-educated economist. In perhaps his most pointed jab, Musk suggested that Navarro's Harvard PhD in economics was a bad thing, not a good thing, directly attacking the credentials that underpinned Navarro's authority on trade matters. This public exchange between two high-ranking government officials was unprecedented in its personal nature and public visibility. The spectacle played out across traditional media and social platforms, drawing millions of views and thousands of comments as Americans watched in fascination at this rare glimpse into administration infighting. The timing of this feud could hardly have been worse for the administration, unfolding amid significant economic turbulence. Trump's tariffs were contributing to global market volatility, including a sharp drop in Tesla's stock price. Reports suggested Musk's personal fortune had declined by approximately $31 billion, adding a financial dimension to his opposition and raising questions about whether his policy positions were influenced by personal financial considerations. Navarro, for his part, attempted to downplay the conflict in subsequent appearances, including on Fox News, where he claimed everything is good with Elon, no problem, though he continued to suggest that Musk's stance was motivated primarily by business interests rather than economic principle. This transparent attempt to paper over the gaping rift fooled nobody and only intensified media interest in the story. The unprecedented nature of this public spat between two senior administration figures created a media firestorm. Major outlets, including the New York Times, CNN, and Fox News, extensively covered the feud, often framing it as evidence of deeper divisions within the administration. The Daily Beast highlighted the personal nature of Musk's insults, while Axios noted that the administration seemed surprisingly unperturbed by the conflict, viewing it as part of its smash-mouth political style. Social media, particularly X, buzzed with discussions, with users taking sides or expressing concern about the broader implications for governance. Business leaders and economic commentators weighed in, with figures like Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, a dean at the Yale School of Management, noting that Musk's position actually aligned with many American CEOs who viewed Trump's tariffs as economically damaging. On X, users like it Richard Hanania criticized Musk's anti-intellectual tone, while acknowledging that his arguments resonated with those skeptical of protectionism. Meanwhile, others like it Joseph Pino _ emphasized Navarro's loyalty to Trump, including his imprisonment for defying a congressional subpoena as a reason to support him over Musk. As this extraordinary conflict consumed Washington's attention, all eyes turned to White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. How would the administration's official voice navigate this unprecedented intra-government conflict? Her handling of this situation would prove to be one of the most challenging moments of her tenure, and possibly the source of the narrative that she was destroyed on Fox News. When pressed about the feud during a press briefing, Leavitt opted for a strategy that would soon make headlines of its own. Rather than attempting to deny or minimize the conflict, she offered a strikingly casual dismissal, saying simply, "Boys will be boys." This seemingly offhand remark, dismissing a serious policy disagreement with a phrase typically reserved for mischievous children, immediately raised eyebrows. But Leavitt wasn't finished. She proceeded to frame the public spectacle not as a sign of dysfunction, but rather as evidence of the administration's exceptional transparency. She elaborated that the administration was the most transparent in history and suggested that the public should appreciate the openness of such debates. She further highlighted President Trump's leadership style, noting, "It speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government who have very diverse opinions on very diverse issues." This remarkable spin attempt, transforming what critics viewed as chaotic infighting into a narrative of inclusivity and openness, reflected Leavitt's skill at message control, but also generated its own controversy. Her "boys will be boys" comment, in particular, drew criticism for trivializing a serious policy disagreement with gendered language that appeared to excuse inappropriate behavior from powerful men. Media outlets such as the Daily Mail, Mediaite, and HuffPost widely reported her remarks, with some describing her tone as eye-raising or noting that she mused rather than seriously directly addressed the conflict. On social platforms like X, users directly quoted her "boys will be boys" remark, amplifying its reach and sparking varied reactions ranging from amusement to outrage. Critics argued that her casual dismissal failed to address the substantive policy differences at play and reflected poorly on the administration's professionalism. Supporters, however, viewed her response as a clever way to sidestep a potentially damaging narrative, reframing internal conflict as healthy debate under Trump's big tent leadership. This high-pressure moment, facing difficult questions about an explosive internal conflict on national television, created precisely the type of challenging situation that could be misrepresented as Leavitt being destroyed in an interview. While she maintained her composure and executed the administration's preferred messaging strategy, her controversial response generated its own backlash that fueled perceptions of a difficult moment for the young press secretary. The Musk-Navarro feud extended far beyond personal animosity, reflecting significant policy and political challenges for the Trump administration. At its core, the conflict underscored a fundamental ideological split between protectionists like Navarro and free trade advocates like Musk, a divide that complicated the implementation of a unified trade agenda, especially as global markets reacted negatively to the administration's tariff policies. This public spat raised questions about the administration's ability to govern effectively. While some supporters embraced the transparency of open debate, others viewed the conflict as evidence of dysfunction, particularly given the White House's casual response through Leavitt. The economic context amplified the stakes considerably. As markets responded to trade uncertainty, Tesla's stock price and Musk's personal wealth experienced significant volatility. This financial dimension added another layer of complexity to the tariff debate and may have further fueled Musk's opposition to the administration's trade approach. As we wrap up this segment, it's worth noting how this extraordinary feud illustrates the unprecedented nature of the Trump administration's internal dynamics. The willingness of high-ranking officials to engage in public personal attacks and the press secretary's framing of such conflicts as normal and even positive represents a dramatic departure from traditional government operations. In our final segment, we'll explore how Elon Musk's reactions to Leavitt and other public figures, particularly women in politics, have created their own controversies. We'll also examine how this incident fits into broader patterns of administration communication and what it reveals about power dynamics in Trump's Washington. Power, perception, and social media. The real story emerges in the final segment of our investigation into the viral narrative. Elon Musk laughs as Karoline Leavitt gets destroyed on Fox Live. We've established that while this specific event didn't occur exactly as described, it draws from real tensions within the Trump administration, particularly the explosive feud between Elon Musk and Peter Navarro that forced Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt into a difficult position. Now we turn to perhaps the most intriguing question. Why did this particular narrative gain such tremendous traction? What does it reveal about media dynamics, public perception, and the unique power structure within the Trump administration? And what role has Elon Musk's history of controversial interactions with political figures, particularly women, played in making this story believable to so many? To understand the viral appeal of this story, we must first recognize that it taps into established patterns of behavior from the key figures involved. Elon Musk, in particular, has a documented history of provocative interactions with political figures on social media, often using his platform to mock or criticize those who oppose his views or challenge his interests. While our investigation found no specific instance of Musk publicly laughing at Leavitt's expense on Fox News, his general approach to public commentary made such a scenario plausible to many observers. Musk is known for his active engagement on social media, where he frequently comments on political events and figures with wit, sarcasm, and occasionally mockery. Now we return to the elephant in the room, or rather, the billionaire who isn't in the room. Although Elon Musk is completely absent from the video, it symbolizes how we've become conditioned to expect political drama to revolve around certain magnetic personalities. Musk has positioned himself as a central figure in American political discourse, straddling the line between government contractor and political provocateur, between technological innovator and cultural warrior. The title's invocation of Musk reveals our collective fascination with his every move, word, and reaction. We've reached a point where adding his name to any controversy guarantees engagement, where the promise of his laughter at political misfortune draws millions of clicks. This represents a broader phenomenon where individual personalities have become more compelling than the actual policies and systems they represent. We're not just watching political drama, we're witnessing the personalization of democracy itself, where the fate of nations seems to rest on the whims and tweets of singular figures. Instead of appearing in this video, Musk has been embroiled in his own controversies, including a public feud with Peter Navarro over trade policies. Karoline Leavitt addressed this conflict on Fox News, saying, "Boys will be boys," and emphasizing transparency. The feud quickly quickly intensified as Musk took to X to fire back, calling Navarro a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks. While the video promises to show Karoline Leavitt being destroyed, the real destruction is far more subtle and insidious. What's being dismantled isn't a person's reputation in a single moment of televised humiliation, but the very infrastructure of civil discourse. The true casualty is our ability to engage with those who disagree with us, to find common ground in shared human experiences, to maintain relationships that transcend political tribalism. Kate Max attempted to create a bridge through the universal language of fitness and health. Hope Waltz's response suggests that in our current climate, such bridges are viewed as pathways for dangerous ideas to spread. The destruction isn't happening in a studio or on a news network. It's occurring in the fabric of our social connections, in our capacity to see political opponents as fellow human beings worthy of basic courtesy and curiosity. This slow-motion dismantling of civil society is far more devastating than any viral moment of political embarrassment. It represents the calcification of American discourse into opposing camps that cannot and will not engage with each other, even on the most basic human level. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this entire controversy is what it reveals about us as viewers and participants in digital culture. The fact that a completely fabricated title could draw millions of viewers hungry for political conflict exposes our own complicity in the degradation of public discourse. We click on promises of destruction and humiliation. We share content based on sensational headlines without investigating the actual substance, and we allow our political identities to colonize even the most seemingly apolitical spaces. The mirror effect works both ways. Just as Hope Waltz saw Kate Max's interview as reflecting dangerous normalization, the video itself reflects our own desires, biases, and the ease with which we can be manipulated. Every click on a false promise, every share of misleading content, every willingness to believe the worst about those we disagree with politically, these actions aggregate into the very polarization that makes genuine dialogue increasingly impossible. The Kate Max controversy suggests we're approaching a crossroads. One path leads to further fragmentation, where every platform becomes a fortress of ideological purity and genuine cross-political interaction becomes virtually impossible. The other requires developing new norms for digital engagement, ways to maintain accountability while preserving the possibility of connection, methods for challenging harmful ideas without demanding absolute ostracism. The challenge isn't trivial. Karoline Leavitt has emerged as a steadfast defender of Musk and Doge, consistently justifying their actions and countering criticism with claims of transparency and fiscal responsibility. She has consistently portrayed Doge as a solution to government waste, claiming Musk's efforts prevent national bankruptcy. As we close this investigation into the truth behind Elon Musk laughs as Karoline Leavitt gets destroyed on Fox Live, we're left with a sobering realization. The real destruction isn't captured in any viral video. It's happening in the slow erosion of our ability to coexist, communicate, and find common ground. The challenge before us is immense, but the alternative, a society fractured beyond repair, where every interaction becomes a battlefield and every platform a weapon, is unthinkable. As we scroll past the next sensational headline, we must ask ourselves, are we consuming content that brings us closer together or further apart? In the end, the power to change the narrative rests not with the influencers or politicians, but with each of us, in our daily choices about how we engage with those who see the world differently than we do. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most deceptive yet revealing viral moments of our time. To stay connected on more recent updates concerning political matters, please click on the card showing on the screen.